Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome, friends of the art of Japanese prints. My name is Dieter Wanschura. Just call me Dieter, much easier, and I'm the owner and manager of the Artelino company. The Artelino company sells Japanese art prints in weekly online auctions. And we like to make videos about Japanese prints with some educational context. At least we try to put some educational context into it. And today I want to introduce a rare print that we never had before. Never before means since 2001, when the Artelino company was established. The print is by the artist Hasui Kawase, and the title, it's this one, Asama Shrine in Shizuoka. Shizuoka is a prefecture in Japan and a city with the same name. A few words about the artist, Hasui Kawase. He was born in 1883 and he died in 1957. And 1 year before his death, he was declared by the Japanese government as a living national treasure. That's, you can imagine, a very, very special honor and merit. Hasui Kawase was the leading artist for landscapes during the first half of the 20th century, and especially the leading artist for the so-called Shinhanga art movement in Japan. Well, this wonderful print with the title Asama Shrine in Shizuoka, it's from a series that the artist Hasui Kawase made. And the Japanese title of the series is Tokaido Fukei Senshu, something like that. And in English it's something like, in Bavarian style English, it's something like Selection of Views of Tokaido. Tokaido, you know, this is this old medieval road that connected Tokyo at that time with the name Edo, the old name for Edo, with Kyoto, at that time the residence of the Emperor of Japan until 1868, I think. Shizuoka is a city and a prefecture in Japan, and the Asama Shrine, this is shows just a part of it, is actually a group of 3 Shinto shrines in Shizuoka. Format of this print is Dai-oban. Dai-oban is a little bit larger than oban. Oban is just a Japanese term for a certain size. The old Japanese prints, they all have a kind of a standard size, not extremely standard size. It had to do how they cut large patterns of paper. And most of the prints from the 19th century will have this size with the name oban, and Dai-oban, as I just said, a little bit larger. The print was first published in 1934, and publisher was Watanabe Shotsaburo from Tokyo, a famous publisher. Why famous? Well, he was the mentor, and one say even the inventor of what we call today the so-called Shinhanga art movement. Well, in the next step, I want to try to explain, well, these odd Japanese characters here to the right and the left margin. Here to the right, this is Watanabe, the publisher, his copyright seal. And this seal was used from 1929 until 1942. Here inside the image you have the signature and seal of the artist Hasui Kawase, but it's not handwritten. You will hardly ever find a handwritten signature on a Shinhanga print. It was carved into the block. And now finally here we have a bunch of odd characters. Let's start from the top. This here says Shizuoka, and this says Asama Shrine, and here this is the publishing date, and it says 9th year of Showa. Showa is from the Japanese calendar. The Japanese calendar the scheme is always named after the ruling emperor. So, 9th year of Showa, and here this says March, made in March. And what is the 9th year of Showa? That's 1934. And so it just says it was made in March of 1934. Just a moment, I have to correct myself. I said it was made. It was published first. When it was actually made, that means pulled from the block. That's another question, and that may be a little bit tricky. And in most cases, we do not know 100%. Often we have to make guesses, or we have some indicators like certain stamps, for instance, or whatever. My dear friends of the art of Japanese prints, in this chapter I want to start an unusual discussion with you. I want to discuss with you who owns the credit for this print. Well, we always talk print by Hasui Kawase, print by, yeah? But actually this print is the result of a teamwork which beginners for Japanese prints will most probably not know. You always think Hasui did everything, yeah? And it is incredible. I mean, look here at these gradations called bokashi, yeah? Look here at the shadows. This is achieved by carving lines and flat areas into a wooden block. And you have to create one wooden block for each color, and then you have to pull single prints for each color and then putting them together, and then comes out this awful result, an image where you have an impression. I mean, you recognize immediately, hey, that must be an autumn, yeah? I don't know how these guys did it. And who did it actually? It was not Hasui Kawase alone. It was the result of a teamwork. Let's take a look who did what. Hasui Kawase only made the sketches and colored the sketches. Hasui made it near the object. He didn't make his sketches for many photographs. He actually traveled. He traveled to this object, sketched, and maybe in the evening when he was in his inn, he colored these sketches, and when he came back to Tokyo, he handed it over to his publisher. That was a rigid man. And if the publisher said, yeah, out of this we can make a print, then he handed it over to his carvers and printers. And these were the guys who did the rest of the job. Hasui never carved a block and never printed anything, yeah? And these carvers and printers, they had an incredible skill level, especially during the first half of the 20th century. I once read in a book that a carver and printer needed an apprenticeship of up to 10 years to learn how to do it. And when I look at that, I could imagine when I was young, I wanted to become an artist. I could imagine to make a sketch and to color it, but I could never imagine to create this by carving into blocks and then pulling paper prints, one for each color, and get that final result. I mean, for me, it's incredible, yeah. Nevertheless, when you look at these characters, only the artist is mentioned. The carvers and printers, they are not mentioned anywhere. Sometimes on old prints from the 19th century, also carvers and printers are mentioned. For Shinhanga prints, the publisher Doi did it, Watanabe never did it. And also the appreciation during the time when these prints were made. Also in the 19th century, the old ukiyo-e prints, it was always for the artist, and the remuneration for the artist was also much higher than for the carvers and printers. So let's wrap it up. The appreciation went always fully to the artist, never to the carver and the printer. And I just want to start this discussion. It's in my mind, is this really justified? Let me come to an end, my friends. I had told you that this is a very rare design that we never had before since our establishment in 2001. But you can find one or two copies on the internet. I made some research myself, quite interesting. You can compare a little bit different color looks. Also, the character writings are not exactly the same. And I think the other examples also have prices, so this is not quite cheap, this print, so you can compare prices. Well, enough for today. I thank you for your attention, and I would be pleased to see you again for our next video about another subject related to Japanese prints. Thanks, and please take care of yourself.